Hello. Thank you for taking a few seconds to tear yourself away from Erling Haaland memes. I know that's all anyone is consuming right now because that's all that's in any of my social feeds. And quite frankly, I like it and I would like to go back to it. And I'm sure you would like to as well. But before we do, let's get into some of the Portland news this week. I talk about, the Bay Area always goes through this thing where it gets crazy expensive when it's kind of the gold rush energy down there. Could that benefit Portland? I don't know. It might. I spent 2 weeks spending quality time with the Oregon Governor's Prosperity Council report. You're busy. You're working on startups. You're being a founder. You don't have time to read 452 pages of a government report. I'll give you kind of the high level of the points that I thought were important to startups. So if that's of interest to you, please stay tuned for that. Company raised $144 million to play around with Oregon Hot Rocks and met with a bunch of founders, talked about a bunch of products this week. So I'll go through some of that quickly as well. And then, of course, if you stay to the end, if you've never been here before, if you stay to the end, I will drop out a character. No more happy, jolly, right? Well, I don't know. I might be happy, but I will drop out a character and talk to you a little bit more about just what was going on with my week and share some secrets with you about things that could potentially be upcoming. I hate to be secretive to the general populace, but you and we can share secrets. It's cone of silence, trust between us. So stick around if you're interested in any of those secrets. Okay, the quick hits this week. First and foremost, our friends at the Oregon UAS Accelerator, the Unpersoned Aerial Systems Accelerator, drones and things associated with drones. Could be software for drones, could be counter drone technology, could be something that uses drones as part of its service delivery. All things drones related. The accelerator out there in Pendleton, Oregon has their applications open right now for their next cohort, but you gotta act quick because they close on July 19th. So please remember that. If you're working in drones, if you would like mentorship, if you would like flight facility to test droney-like things, then you want to go out to Pendleton and go through the Oregon UAS Accelerator, no matter where you are. It's one of the best drone accelerator programs in the world. If that's of interest to you, please apply. July 19th is when those are due. Let's see, what else? The Platformer out of Bend, which is kind of a services company that helps people with AWS, makes it easier to onboard with AWS and maintain AWS. Of course, by AWS, I mean Amazon Web Services. So if you're using Amazon Web Services, if it's too complex, if you're worried about your security, if it's just too hard for you to manage, maybe take a look at Platformer out of Bend. Our friends at Agility, used to be Agility Robotics. They have the robot called Digit that does the warehouse work. The CEO of Agility Robotics sat down with TechCrunch to kind of talk through the upcoming IPO and what it means and what the future of Agility looks like. So I'll link that one up so you can read that if that's of interest to you. But that's going to be a huge IPO for Oregon, likely this year. So that also kind of plays into some of that QSBS drama that we've been dealing with from the Prosperity Council side. But a really good interview, super interesting. The CEO used to be the CEO of Magic Leap, was at Microsoft. I believe she was one of the first hires that Satya made, and she was a high-level exec there. So really good conversation, really worth your time to understand what the future of robotics in Oregon might look like. And that's coming from TechCrunch. I had the opportunity to chat with Kira from Canelo, and did one of their startup stories interviews. So I encourage you to listen to that. Great conversation, great discussion on company culture and how it starts and how you maintain it and all those kind of things. So if building a good culture is important to your startup or company, please listen to that and learn a thing or two. And then a handful of new products that I was able to write up. There was one that was Token Jam to help you deal with token pricing, because this billions and trillions of tokens for pennies on the dollar is not going to last forever. So you kind of want to check out Token Jam and see what they're doing. You stop token maxing and start being more, judicious with your token spend, and because that's likely going away sometime soon. So it kind of reminded me of Cloudability from back in the day, where it's like they helped you understand and manage your cloud spend. This is more focused on tokens with LLM. So super interesting there. Corey Loftus had built an app that I saw quite a while ago called Droplet that is super interesting if you're in the Apple ecosystem. So if you run a Mac and you have an iPhone, what Droplet does is basically make your iPhone a remote control for your Mac. So almost like bookmarks, but on your phone. So if there are files you always use or things you're always trying to find that they're somehow buried somewhere and you have difficulty finding them, or you just want them at a moment's notice, you just boop, 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 boop on your phone, boop, 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 on your Mac. It's simple as that. And you may even get those sound effects if you want. So there's that. Scamp caught in the Portland startup Slack in the Hype channel. So love the Hype channel there. The Hype channel on Portland startup Slack is really designed for self-promotion. So if you're a founder, you're on the Portland startup Slack, you're like, hey, I built this thing, I'm kind of proud of it. Or I vibe coded this thing, I'd like you to see it. Or won't somebody please pay attention to the product I built? The Hype channel is the perfect place to share those kind of things, and that's where I found Scamp. Scamp is a Figma alternative. So if you are a UX UI designer who works with front-end folks, and you're kind of stuck in this trap of you design things in Figma, but then when they're implemented in code, you lose things, you miss things, things don't quite work out like you like. That's what Scamp is designed to solve. It helps UI UX folks deliver assets to front-end developers in a way that ensures that the design fidelity remains true throughout that transition process. So if you're a UI UX developer, or you are a front-end developer, or you're a UI UX designer, I encourage you to take a look at it. Funny aside here, there's a pile, the company was called Stand-In, and they developed something very similar, but for mobile app development back in the day, way back in the day. And I tagged both of the founders on it, and just because I was like, oh, hey, this kind of reminded me what you used to do, and it's simplifying design and the technical aspects like Stand-In used to do. Stand-In also went through Techstars, so you might know them from there as well. But the headline I wrote was like Figma Schmigma, because it's a Figma competitor, and unbeknownst to me, because I wasn't paying attention, one of the co-founders now works at Figma. So, I took open mouth, insert foot. That's basically what that was. So, live and learn, all those kind of things. And then finally, I had not been tracking on this. I apologize. We missed the early bird tickets. It's expensive full price tickets right now, but the React Native Conference, Chain React, will be in Portland at the end of July. Tickets are upwards of right around $1,000. I mean, they're not cheap, but they are the biggest kind of React Native gathering in the US with all kinds of notable figures. And our friends Annie Sexton, who, Pi alum, but also does a ton with Code TV, and our friend Jason Langsdorf, and Brittany Ellick, who has the Overcommitted podcast. She was at GitHub. She is now working on a lot of Blue Sky related at protocol kind of things. They are doing a workshop as part of the Chain React event. Their workshop is free. Now, I'm not sure if you have to pay for a ticket to attend the event and go to their workshop for free, or if anyone can just go to their workshop for free, but it's specifically focused on women in tech and kind of putting your ideas out there and being present and doing all of that work. So if that's of interest to you, we'll definitely link that up and check it out. And if you're a React Native developer, I apologize. It's full ticket prices, but you should go, or maybe they'll have some ancillary events of some sort that you can attend while people are here. Just maybe we should have a social beer gathering while folks are in town. There are all kinds of potential opportunities. We got a week or two to figure that out, which is years in the startup world. So just know Chain React coming to Portland, a lot of React Native people in the city. They'll be in the Pearl. I think it's at the Armory and a variety of other places. So just wanted you to know about that event coming up. Okay. That's all the quick stuff. Now to get into the deep dive. I told you about the Oregon Prosperity Council report. I talked about it a couple of weeks. I was like, I was really optimistic. I'm like, I'm going to read this weekend and then I'll get back to you on it. And then it took me that entire week and I still wasn't done with it. And so I was like, I promise by the next time I record, I will actually have something for you. And that did in fact occur. I went through all 452 pages of the report, read the entire thing, highlighted stuff, solicited some questions from the community that I could dig into, and really just tried to take it from a startup founder perspective, like what are the most important things in this report. And so I'm going to look at what I wrote up now and just kind of like give you some of the high level stuff. And if you want to go a little deeper, it still tries to summarize everything for you. But like the biggest part, the most important part from a startup perspective is one of the recommendations in the report was to solve the whole qualified small business stock issue. So if you weren't tracking on that, I won't bore you to tears with what happened, but basically the legislature said, let's detach Oregon tax law from the federal tax law around a couple of issues, but specifically qualified small business stock, which means that you now get taxed on something, QSBS, that you weren't taxed on before. My argument, personally, being in a risk-averse investment community and a risk-averse community in general, don't do things that cause people to think that investing in startups or building a startup is even more risky. So that hopefully gets disentangled or fixed in some meaningful way. But the Prosperity Council heard you and me and us loud and clear. The QSBS change screwed a bunch of stuff up. Go fix it. So that, first and foremost, was most important. They also said that entrepreneurship, startup formation, and business expansion are the growth engines that Oregon needs to double down on. They recommend basically destroying Business Oregon and reinventing it as the Oregon Commerce Authority. So, that organization manages like 90, upwards of 100 different programs that are just like, it's become this weird umbrella. Sometimes people refer to it kind of like Christmas tree kind of stuff. Like they just hang stuff off of it because it's a Christmas tree, or they just bolt things on. They're like, oh, Business Oregon can deal with that. And it's just become a real hodgepodge of programs and a lot of money. And so the primary thing the Prosperity Council said was, basically just blow it up, start over. Like, let's get something that actually works. Let's figure out a strategy, and let's get rid of what currently is Business Oregon and replace it with an Oregon Commerce Authority. And then finally, dealing with some taxation, R&D credits, site readiness. They're talking about some money for innovation districts, which I have a little PTSD about after being, a core participant in the Portland Innovation Quadrant way back when, where we tried really hard, but just couldn't line up the funding. We could get everybody in the same room. We could get everybody around the same table. We had, varying opinions on what it should do, but we were all pretty much in line and we knew what needed to be done. But the problem was really financing it. So now the state is saying they're going to dedicate some money to financing innovation districts of that ilk. So that could present another opportunity for Portland. So that's interesting. You can keep an eye on that. Just reading through here, fix the tax code, get land ready to build on. Oh, university research and innovation districts, like the university research, there's also some money there to help out in that regard. Streamlining permitting, those kind of things. And then there were some disagreements. Like some people are like, this isn't going far enough. Other people were like, oh, this is way too much. And then of course some people are like, this is just political theater. It won't even matter come November. So just wanted you to know about those things. Again, you can read it all. And then I had some questions from the community that I tried to answer through my read. So that was time well spent. I was really hoping to go in there and be like, ooh, I found this hidden gem, or I found this little juicy passage of interestingness and innovation-y kind of startup stuff things. But, as luck would have it, I know this may come as a shock, but a government document developed over a very short time period by a bunch of volunteers basically just said the quiet part out loud. It said all the things we've all been talking about and saying are needed, and they basically just documented it. So I didn't find anything crazy in there. I didn't find anything like terribly interesting or stuff that we hadn't really talked about before, but I still wanted to write up a piece because I promised you I would, but also because I think it will provide an important artifact for us going forward where we can look back and say, hey, this is what you said you were going to do, and this is what's actually happening. So I just wanted to have that as a reference point. So I took the time to write it up. It's out there. I'll link it up. And again, I kept a lot of TLDRs in it. So you can just kind of skim all the TLDRs, and then you'll be like, I got it. I know what's going on. I know enough. And of course, I will keep tracking on this and keep you up to date. So please, I read it so you don't have to. Just go through the TLDRs and you'll get everything you need to know. TLDRs, read it. I did it for you. I suffered through those 452 pages that I know people who were on the council, they had to suffer through writing those 452 pages. So I was trying to do them a favor by reading it and you a favor by distilling it down to all the things you need to know. So check out that post. I mentioned Quaise Energy got $144 million. They are doing I think it's the Newberry volcano in Central Oregon. It's south of Bend, but basically geothermal power. So using the geothermal activity, the hot rocks and molten lava, the volcanoes, they've got that stuff. And so they're using that to generate energy, and apparently are being pretty successful because they raised $144 million. Now, they are not an Oregon company. They're a company doing work in Oregon, but it is our resources, our geothermal energy that is enabling them to test their technology and see what kind of energy they can generate. Obviously, in this day and age, a lot of people are thinking about, could that energy be, a lot of people are thinking about how to talk. A lot of people are thinking about, could that energy be used for the artificial intelligence and the data centers and all that kind of stuff? So really compelling, kind of like the Panthalassa stuff. Like, remember Panthalassa, the wave energy bobbing thingamajig with the data center inside the sphere, and it's bobbing and it's getting the energy and it's cooling the data center with the waves and the energy. It's very similar to that. But whereas Panthalassa's in the water where it's cold, the quasi energy is in the rocks where it's hot, but still using water. So I will keep an eye on this. It definitely hit my radar because of the amount they raised, but I just want you to be aware of it. And, just be aware that is yet another resource at our disposal in Oregon that could be compelling, could help the environment in a really meaningful way, and gives us yet another version of renewable power to complement our hydroelectric and our wind turbine power. So, and our wave power. So just so you know, I'll keep an eye on it. Again, not an Oregon company, but I thought it was important to mention. And then I got, every once in a while, I have these random ideas, and honestly, more than once in a while, but I have these random ideas and I socialize them with people. And unfortunately for you, sometimes people go, no, that kind of makes sense. You should think more about that. And this was one of those situations where it was brought to a head by a New York Times article I read where, things are so crazy in the Bay Area right now from a housing perspective, real estate perspective. Like, people are selling houses and getting $1 million over the asking price. Or the people who are selling the house are like, look, we'll give it to you for the asking price plus a little Anthropic stock or options or some OpenAI stock. Like, if we're going to benefit from those companies going public, then, there's upside for both of us. So that situation is bad already. It's crazy bad already. And it happens practically every time that San Francisco becomes the be all and end all of a kind of technology era. It's very much the gold rush behavior that San Francisco is so famous for. So at this time, because AI is so hot, because everybody has to be in San Francisco for AI, because there's all this stuff going on and these great companies being built and these not so great companies being built, but also because SpaceX going public, OpenAI going public, Anthropic going public, it's on the magnitude of 10,000 to 20,000. I've heard a bunch of numbers bandied around, but 10,000 to 20,000 deca-millionaires overnight. At least deca-millionaires overnight. Some of them might be like, 9-figure kind of millionaire types overnight. So it's going to be an amount of wealth creation that is even ridiculous for San Francisco. Okay, so I think you have the context for the entire Bay Area, not just San Francisco, not just the city. But so what often happens in these situations historically, what often has happened when we see these kinds of situations happening in San Francisco and in the Bay Area, inevitably there's some really creative, intelligent people who kind of like look around and go, why am I paying this much to be here? I could be somewhere else. I could be somewhere else within a 90-minute flight of the Bay Area. And when they start thinking that way, often in the past, Portland was among the cities that they were considering. And I saw, I've seen that happen time and time again with really interesting Bay Area expats wind up in Portland and they build interesting companies, or they are, high caliber employees for companies that already exist. But that happened in the past because Portland was a shiny object, because, Fred and Carrie were telling funny stories about what it's like around here.
The chicken you'll be enjoying tonight.
You have this information. This is fantastic.
Absolutely. His name was Colin.
Or, the New York Times food section had just written us up again. Or one of our James Beard award-winning chefs was on, Top Chef or Kitchen Nightmares or whatever. And so the issue now is I'm worried Portland isn't part of that conversation. And this is where you come in. So if Portland is not part of the conversation, if we're not on people's radars, that is something that could cause us to lose out from the potential brain gain. And I know this is fraught with peril, because the other part of it is you don't want Portland to become even less affordable. I understand that. And I'm not saying, bring a bunch of expats here, make Portland into a mini, Bay Area, Silicon Valley kind of thing. I'm absolutely not saying that. Absolutely do not want that. Absolutely am not recommending that. All I'm saying is there are people in San Francisco who are very similar to us and who appreciate the culture of Portland in a similar way that we do, and who could be very good stewards of community, could be very good participants in our startup world if they're aware that there's even anything going on here, which they may not be these days, to be quite honest. So all I'm asking is that you don't have to get egotistical about it. You don't have to get braggy. I would like you to take the opportunity to share more about Portland, more about what you're building, more about why you like it here, more about what keeps you here. So you don't have to get braggy. You just have to get out of your aggressive humility. Your usual, well, I'm just working on some stuff. It's okay. It's not that big a deal. Like, don't do that. Like, start talking about what you're building, why you're building it in Portland. I will help amplify that. And what we will do is create this kind of groundswell, or at least a bit of buzz about Portland that maybe gets us back on the radar of those folks who may be looking for another place. The fringe benefit of doing that is if we do that work, if we start making a little noise, if we start celebrating Portland and our community and our startups and our people and our founders and our products, then it's not just the Bay Area that's going to hear about it. It's everywhere. And so if we stay true to our culture, if we promote what is going on here and the potential of what could happen here, then we stand to gain brain gain from all over the place. You know what I'm saying? Okay, cool. So that's kind of what my recommendation. That was kind of where I went in the post, and I've already been talking about it too long, but I'm just encouraging you, I'm begging you to just talk a little bit more about what you're building, talk a little bit more about Portland, and let's see if we can kind of raise the visibility of what's going on here beyond just, a few people talking about Portland and the startup community here. That's all I'm asking. Maybe spend some more time down in the Bay Area if you have the wherewithal. Like, go down there and hang out. And then people ask you, well, where are you from? Why are you down here? And it's like, well, I'm from Portland, and Portland's great, and you should come up and test it out. And the things like the Chain React thing is a great example. Like, that's another opportunity where there's an event that's causing a lot of people to come to Portland. It's a destination event. It's not all Portland people. It's people from coming all over to hang out in Portland. And we should embrace that. And we should be nice to those people. And we should tell them all the kinds of cool things that are around here. We should show off the town, help them understand how great it is here and how great you are and how interesting the products you're building are. Okay? So again, I hate to give you more tasks. It's just a little one. Just say a little bit more about Portland. Say a little bit more about why you're here. Share that with folks so that people are more aware of Portland. And so, perhaps most importantly, we start to own that dialogue rather than abdicating it to others to tell our story. Okay, there'll be a lot more work that needs to be done, but this is the simple, easy one. And it just hit me. And I read that New York Times post. And I was just like, wow, okay, now's the time. Got to socialize this. Got to get more people talking about this. And some folks are like, there are very negative ramifications around this also, right? Like we can't like do something that makes our community worse. We can't do something that makes livability more difficult for people here. But we can. I'm confident we are creative enough and intelligent enough to come up with a way to find a happy medium that benefits our community, introduces new and interesting people to our startup community, and benefits the city as a whole. So that's my rant. That's my rant for this week. I saved it till the end. That honestly could have been like a secrets segment, but now we're in the real secrets segment. So my voice is already starting to go. I think I talked about it a little bit. Welcome to Secrets. Hello. Thank you for staying. Glad you're here. Sorry to give you more tasks. Kind of sorry. People need to know what you're building. They need to know how cool you are. That's really what they need to know. And then they would be here overnight. They would be in a minute if they knew how cool you were. But you don't talk about it. So what am I going to do about that? I think I talked a lot about like because of some tragic stuff that's been happening. I've been really motivated to really get back engage with community. I think if you follow my blog, you kind of see I've really ramped up activity there. Again, I've, kind of started stacking up a bunch of meetings, and I'm starting to get back out to events and just really re-engaging with the community. This week I got, speaking of telling Portland's story, I got to meet with some folks from New Mexico who were curious about Portland and maybe considering Portland as a destination. Somebody from Atlanta reached out to me. They're going to come visit, and they, needed some tips and tricks, and so help them out. And then I'm going to catch up with them when they're here. And then, encountered somebody on, I think it was Blue Sky, who was kind of talking about why they moved to Portland, and they were kind enough to say, yeah, I'm happy to kind of chat with you and give you some more details. So I'm going to find some time to catch up with them. Caught up with Adam Duvander, who, if you haven't met Adam, a long time, like even longer than me, I think, kind of community organizer, advocate around here, helped with a bunch of events here in Portland back in the day, and does a lot of DevRel work these days, and has always been kind of a DevRel person, but is specifically focused on that. Got the chance to catch with him and share some details on this cockamamie project I've been vibe coding that, I don't know. I originally kind of built it for me, but now I'm thinking it might be a thing that I put out there. I don't know. It's a dumb idea Not a dumb idea. Like, it comes from a good place. I just don't know that the product I built really solves the issue that I was seeking to solve. You know how that happens sometimes? Like, you have your ICP, your ideal customer profile, not that you visualize you're in. And I started building this thing, and then of course it got over architected and stuff. So now I'm carving it back down to like base MVP functionality. Might share that a little more broadly because it needs people to use it to make it really effective. That's where it's broken. Like, I built it for me, and then I was like, dude, this won't work unless other people are using it. So sorry for you. I might have built another thing that I'm going to be releasing because you know me, I like to start things, but don't do very good at building or growing them. Tune in to Paige Hendricks Buckner interview, fireside chat. Wasn't really a podcast, but got to listen to her talk about Allraise and their work, and that was great. I'm going to try and catch up with her in a few weeks, I think, at the end of the month. Maybe caught up with Cliff Johnson, the co-founder of Vacasa from back in the day. Talked to him about a new thing he's working on called Pad Split. He's not here anymore. He's back east, but there are some folks on the team here, of course, because he said Vacasa and knows a lot of people around here. And then caught up with a few more founders, talked to some folks about AI kind of things and events, like bigger events. That's another thing. I'm thinking about doing another event, like a bigger event. There is the Silicon Florist 20th birthday party in 2027 that I need to start planning. And of course I'll invite you, but only because you stay here for secrets. And but there's another event I kind of got, like, I'm like, I kind of feeling motivated to do it. And I've been socializing it a little bit, and folks have been like, yeah, we should do that. We're in, let's go. So I guess that means I have to do that. So stay tuned for that. Nothing this year. This is all next year. This is like a big event. So it will require a great deal of planning and orchestration and you know, management. But yeah, I don't like public relations. I don't like managing events. However, I happen to have the skills to do public relations and events, and I've done enough of them that sometimes I do events, even though I don't like them. I mean, that's a Tech Fest Northwest, like Startup Week, those kind of things. Like, I started those things, so maybe it's time to start another event. I don't know. Who knows? Maybe. So, so that's this week. But I am starting to feel re-engaged. I am starting to be more proactive rather than reactive. I felt like I was kind of getting into this motion where I would just sit and wait for people to reach out to me. I am actively reaching out to people I need to meet, trying to set up times, chat with them, try and get re-engaged with the community, going to be with a bunch of people from around town, outside of town, all that kind of stuff. So that's kind of where my head is right now, just reconnecting. So if we haven't talked in a bit, please feel free to reach out to me, and let's get something on the calendar to catch up, figure out what's what, see what we can do here about raising Portland's visibility. Or raising your product's visibility, whatever. Like, we make some more noise, catch up with people. Also have some ideas for some stuff for founders. So yeah, just lots of ideas. Like, gonna try a lot of things. Gonna experiment with a lot of stuff and see what works. See what happens. Okay, go back to your Erling Holland memes. I've kept you here long enough. You've probably just been watching them while you've been listening to me. That's fine. That guy's great. He's entertaining. He's such a good dude. I've been so sucked into the World Cup this year, and it's been a good tournament. Sorry to see it go, but a few more games to watch, and it'll be exciting to see who makes it into the final, and then of course who wins. All right, go. I've kept you too long. You're very kind. Stay here. I appreciate you being here each and every week, and I appreciate you staying for secrets. So go along your merry little way. Have a good weekend. Hope you're holding up. And until we get the chance to chat again, please keep up the good work.